and you're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts to that. But the point remains.
Alternative facts? Alternative facts, 4 of the 5 facts he uttered. The one thing he got right was Zeke Miller. 4 of the 5 facts he uttered were just not true. Look, alternative facts are not facts. They're falsehoods.
Hello, I'm Paul Barry. Welcome to Media Watch and to the Alice in Wonderland world where reality is whatever you want it to be. Once upon a time, facts were facts and news was news. But now we have alternative facts and fake news. And it's all so bizarre it merits a special programme to make sense of it all. And no prizes for guessing who's at the heart of this battle, as he is with so many others.
Sir, since you're attacking us, can you give us a question? Mr. President-elect. Mr. President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance? You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you state, Mr. President-elect, can you state categorically, Mr. President-elect, can you give us a question? You're attacking us. Can you give us a question? Can you give us a question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
That fiery exchange with the CNN reporter was 3 weeks ago, but since then the war has been hotting up. First, Trump's press secretary boasted his inauguration had attracted the biggest crowd in history. False, cried the media, and produced the pictures, but he didn't back down. Then Trump insisted, without any evidence, that fraud had robbed him of a popular vote victory because 3 to 5 million people had voted illegally for Clinton. That was a lie, said the New York Times on page 1, while the city's raucous tabloid, the Daily News, rolled out its front page to broaden the attack.
War on truth.
Facts are fiction.
The dawning of a new age of deception.
But it's not just America where truth is under attack. The Czech Republic is setting up a unit to fight the fake news threat. The German government is calling for a unit to do the same. Britain's BBC is setting up its own team to debunk fake news. And the European Union is raising the alarm. Meanwhile, in Australia, the Macquarie Dictionary has chosen fake news as its word of the year, with editor Susan Butler commenting,
"There has come a point with fake news where people are beginning to believe what they want to believe, whether or not the news story is actually true."
And as Macquarie's editor notes, crying fake news has become the easy way for people to cast doubt on stories they don't like.
Fake news is being used quite broadly as a smear. It's very hard to refute it. All you can do is produce factual evidence in a world where factual evidence doesn't seem to matter that much.
Before Christmas, Resources Minister Matt Canavan dismissed reports of an Indian tax probe into coal miner Adani, which is being promised Australian taxpayer funds for its Queensland mine, by telling the ABC,
I have been very disappointed in the ABC's coverage of this issue in the past week. Sorry. Just reports have been nothing but fake news.
More recently, One Nation Senator Malcolm Roberts has levelled the same charge at BuzzFeed for disputing his boast about scoring tickets to Trump's inauguration.
Your whole hashtag fake news story is based on being invited. Trump was right about BuzzFeed.
And what does President Trump think of BuzzFeed? Here's his reaction to its scandalous and unsubstantiated claims that he romped with Russian prostitutes.
BuzzFeed, which is a failing pile of garbage, it's all fake news. It's phony stuff. It didn't happen. Fake news. Fake news. Fake news.
So, what exactly is fake news? Well, it's a story that's untrue, and deliberately so, which is designed either to make money or to win political advantage. And it came to the fore in the US election with stories like these.
WikiLeaks confirms Hillary sold weapons to ISIS, then drops another bombshell.
FBI insider. Clinton emails linked to political pedophile sex ring.
Pope Francis shocks world, endorses Donald Trump for president, releases statement.
The crazy claim that the Pope was backing Trump reached an audience of almost 1 million people. And an Ipsos survey for BuzzFeed showed that 2 out of 3 who remembered the story believed it to be true. Meanwhile, this claim by the Christian Times newspaper of massive vote rigging also went viral.
Breaking. Tens of thousands of fraudulent Clinton votes found in Ohio warehouse.
Ohio was a state Trump needed to win, but he'd warned voters it could be snatched from him by fraud. And this story on a genuine-looking news site offered proof. Boxes full of bogus votes for Hillary before polling had even begun.
The Clinton campaign's likely goal was to slip the fake ballot boxes in with the real ballot boxes, stealing the state on Election Day.
News of that Ohio fraud reached 6 million people, but it was a pack of lies, as the New York Times showed last month in unmasking its manufacturer, a 23-year-old Republican activist called Cameron Harris.
From headline to photograph, a fake news masterpiece.
The photo of the ballot boxes was lifted from a 2015 story in Britain's Birmingham Mail, and the fraud claimed by the Christian Times newspaper was 100% fiction, as were most of the other stories on its website.
Hillary Clinton blames racism for Cincinnati guerrilla's death. Breaking: Hillary Clinton charged with murder for Benghazi deaths. Breaking: Hillary has tongue cancer. Doctor admits.
So why did an avid Republican fake these stories? Maybe it's obvious, but New York Times reporter Scott Shane was not so sure, telling Mediawatch,
most of the site's content was anti-Clinton stuff, made up and clearly designed to hurt reputation. So I thought Harris's motivation was partly political. But he argued persuasively that his overwhelming motivation was financial, and I don't have any way to prove it.
Whether Harris was driven by politics or money, and he picked up $23,000 in ad revenue from his site, which cost just $5 to set up, Harris wasn't the only one to cash in on tall Trump tales.
How teens in the Balkans are duping Trump supporters with fake news.
Last November, BuzzFeed identified more than 100 websites in Macedonia, such as Trump Vision 365, World Politic US, and US Conservative Today, who were pushing crazy pro-Trump or anti-Clinton stories. Almost all were plagiarised from right-wing blogs or fringe sites in the USA. And the ones that received most clicks and generated most revenue were the outright fakes.
The most successful stories from these sites were nearly all false or misleading. 4 of the 5 most successful posts were false.
BuzzFeed's media editor Craig Silverman found the same when he analysed American websites, with fake news again beating real news hands down in the last 3 months of the campaign. So why do people like fake news so much?
We love to hear things that confirm what we think and what we feel and what we already believe. So that's why the false and misleading stuff does really well, is because it's highly emotion driven. It tells people exactly what they want to hear. It makes them feel very comforted, and it gets them to react on the platform. And the platform sees that content does really well, and Facebook feeds more of it to more people.
Fake news is hardly a new phenomenon, nor is believing stuff that defies all evidence. But in a world where anyone can set up a website, and so many are on social media, it can spread like wildfire. Almost 2 billion people log onto Facebook every month, and Facebook works by giving them the news they want.
On Facebook, the more you interact with certain types of content, the more its algorithms are going to feed you more of that content. And that's, again, one of the really big takeaways, I think, from this election. The fake stuff performed better on Facebook. And if you weren't doing some stuff that was misleading or fake, you were going to get beat by people who were.
But it's not just with Trump that fake news thrives. As you can see with this story from Breitbart, the new president's favourite right-wing website, visited by 37 million people every month.
Revealed. A 1,000-man mob attack police set Germany's oldest church alight on New Year's Eve.
Breitbart's headline didn't say the mob was Muslim, but it claimed the 1,000 men chanted Allah Akbar as they set fire to the German church. So, was it true?
It was every God-fearing Christian's worst nightmare about Muslim refugees. The only problem, police say that's not what happened that night in the western city of Dortmund.
Yes, at best it was a shocking beat-up, at worst deliberate lies. According to Ruhr-Nachrichten, Breitbart and a right-wing Austrian website, who had no reporters at the scene, took local news reports out of context and distorted them
to produce fake news, hate and propaganda.
A video of Dortmund's New Year's Eve celebrations, posted on Ruhr-Nachrichten, shows a big and boisterous crowd letting off fireworks in the main square. And some 50 Syrian refugees celebrating the Aleppo ceasefire in another part of the city. But no 1,000-man mob attacking the police, and no torching of the church, which is not the oldest in Germany. And police say it was a quiet night. As Ruhr-Nachrichten's Dennis Werner told Mediawatch,
I rub my eyes reading commentaries by some people. There is a big church in Dortmund, still standing. It has not burned yet, But people want to believe the churches burned. The incident was a really little fire on a scaffold. A plastic tarpaulin took fire, probably because of a firework rocket that accidentally flew against the scaffold.
Total damage, €200. Now, what makes this shocking story even worse is that Breitbart's boss, until recently, was Steve Bannon, who was picked last August to run Donald Trump's US election campaign. Bannon is now in the White House as Trump's chief strategist, and he was reportedly chief architect of the ban on immigrants from 7 mainly Muslim countries. Breitbart's currently expanding in Europe to cover the French and German elections, and it's worth asking what effect fake news like the Muslim mob might have. Dennis Werner told Mediawatch.
Some readers mistrust the established news. They tend to believe in news that fits better in their views of the world. And extremist or populist parties profit from this situation. That personally leaves me in despair. We as journalists have to raise our voice and do what we do best. Research the facts, explain things, and detect alternative facts as what they really are, lies.
So, how do we do that? Well, since social media is what turbocharges it all, it would help if Facebook flagged fake news and misleading stories to its users and slowed their spread. And it has promised to do just that, with CEO Mark Zuckerberg telling his Facebook followers in December,
"Well, we don't write the news stories you read and share. We also recognise we're more than just a distributor of news. We're a new kind of platform for public discourse, and that means we have a new kind of responsibility to enable people to have the most meaningful conversations and be informed."
The plan is for users to alert Facebook to dodgy stories so that it can get fact-checking websites like Snopes and FactCheck to rule on whether they're okay. But, while it sounds promising, there's little sign of any action so far. Google is also trying by cutting off revenue to fake news sites. Google put the Christian Times newspaper out of business in November by starving it of ads, and it claims to have cut the flow to 200 others. But hundreds of other sites remain, and the Christian Times newspaper's story is still out there, live and kicking. And even if you could shut them all down, is that really what you want to do? Australia's The Shovel, for example, is certainly fake news, but it's also satire.
Trump watches prostitutes urinate on Oval Office in traditional presidential handover.
And so is America's famous fake news site, The Onion.
Trump insists that now more than ever, Americans must stand strong in face of empathy.
Surely you don't want to put satirical sites like that out of business. Nor, surely, do you want to stamp out memes which make people believe Donald Trump is even more wacky than he really is. I have to confess that for a moment I thought that one might be real. And manipulating images like that gets more sophisticated every day. Here's a researcher at Stanford University making another famous politician copy facial expressions in real time. It's scary stuff, and it will doubtless get harder to tell the fake from the real thing. So, is there a magic answer? Sadly not. Ultimately, we have to rely on genuine media to expose fake news and lies, as we try to do at Mediawatch. But as Professor Charlie Beckett from the London School of Economics says, they need to do a much better job.
Fake news is a real problem, not just because it gives people, rubbish information, but because it undermines the idea that anything is true. And I think it's a real challenge in the sense that mainstream media has been too complacent. Stuff that you could call fake news that's been in some, so-called reputable media. So there's a real challenge there for journalists to get their act together, basically, because, I think that in a world of lies, truth is actually quite a good selling point for journalists.
Yes, fake news could be an opportunity for mainstream media rather than its death knell. The media you can trust, not to lie, distort and make things up. But the sad truth is that lies are powerful. Fake and misleading stories can be shared 10 times more than articles that debunk them. And falsehoods live on because people want to believe them. Or as one authority on the subject, Adolf Hitler, once wrote in Mein Kampf,
"The grossly impudent lie always leaves traces behind it, even after it has been nailed down, a fact which is known to all expert liars in this world and to all who conspire together in the art of lying."
And you can read more about those fake news stories on our Facebook page or our website, where you can get a transcript and download the programme. You can also catch up with us on iView and contact me or Mediawatch on Twitter. But for now, until next week, That's all from us. Goodbye.